Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me is my good brother here in the temple, the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
Zadari Enterprises would like to remind you that I have seen so many fucking indie games on my timeline just today, and I keep having to signal boost them everywhere. You all should be doing it too, you fucks. Come on now.
It's far more productive than being a dog sitting on a nail complaining about how much it hurts.
Oh, indeed.
Remember, folks, if you see someone taking the black pill, induce vomiting. But we are back with Gubat-Banwa once again. After our little side trip with Shadow Scar, which obviously was not in the original plans, but sometimes we have to pivot with these kind of things.
Yep.
This will be the final entry when it comes to looking at the discipline system.
Yes.
Because we've covered the Rajanate, the Confederation, the Sultanate, the Lacanate, and now the Kingdom. The five disciplines of the Bae Kingdom is going to be our focus for this one. And there's a very violet theming I'm seeing with this. Like everybody has some degree of midnight blue or purple on some part.
Yep.
And
looks pretty fun.
Our first one, the first one of 5 that we have, is the Flower Balyan. Style is Witch. Complexity is average. Channelers and priests of the Sampaguita, the Jasmine of Death and the Ancestors, Speaker of the Departed, Ministers of Blessed Flower Corpses.
Flower Corpse.
And given the art, all I can hear is, Necromant, if you want to, we can bring your friends to life, but your friends aren't dead, and if they're not dead, then they're no friends of mine.
I can see that.
Discipline attributes. Posture 16, Speed 3, Jump 1, Evade 2, bonus of +1 to Spirit and Resolve. Weapons are mudras, ritual knives, gunong, kreese, prayer strips, sampugita wreaths, flower thorns, and laurels. Armors are ritual vestments, raiments, shawls, robes, sashes, malong, tapis, and sarong. Their discipline philosophy is corpse guarded. When you put down a field or maintain a field, gain a thunderbolt afterwards. You are immune to poison. All poison you inflict cannot be cleansed for any reason and deals d4 plus 4, 5, or 6 damage. All fields you put down have their size increased by 1, i.e. burst 1 becomes burst 2, although they forgot the other part of the parentheses in this. Then the ways to use thunderbolts. We have Gardener. When you put down a field, spend a thunderbolt afterwards to inflict poison on all enemies in the field. If they're already poisoned, inflict chilled instead. Harvester. Spend 1 thunderbolt to inflict d6 damage to all enemies in all of your fields, and then heal the amount of damage dealt per enemy. Or Steward. When an enemy in any of your fields suffers an attack from your ally, spend a thunderbolt afterwards to deal an additional d6 damage, and then the ally heals that much as well. They are Harmacists.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have their Inflict Violence, Death Bloom Spell Striking, starting with the Tayabak Whip. Whip out with a whip of bright teal jade vine. Is that phrasing?
Eh.
Oh. At least we know that Alm would probably get a kick out of that. Oh.
You could say you'd have a good crack at it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, it's 1 beat. Target is 1 enemy in range 1 to 5. Effect: slide the target up to 3 tiles. Although it doesn't say 3 tiles toward you, so
Well, it's 3 tiles, probably in any direction you'd want.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to give it a whole lot more versatility.
Well, it allows you to slide them into your fields.
Mm-hmm. Or if they get out of their field, slide them back in when you get the chance.
Mm-hmm.
See, then Corpse Flower Curse. Strike with an incantation that flowers a flower field from the target.
Blossoms.
It's 1 beat and it is an attack with the soul attribute. Targets 1 enemy in range 2 to 4. This is a ranged attack that deals d4 plus spirit versus resilience. Effect: put down a burst 1 corpse flower field centered on the target. Then corpse flower field. This field is considered difficult terrain for enemies.
Nice.
Since it's difficult terrain, you can just keep them in there and keep the kicking circle going. Then we have Poisoned Thorn. With an utterance to the gods of healing, sling out a venomous thorn. It's 1 beat. It's an attack that has the poison element. Targets 1 enemy in range 2 to 4. Ranged attack that deals d6 plus spirit versus resilience. And if the target is already poisoned, instead trigger the poison's damage. One would say, well, I know someone might say, well, if they're praying to the gods of healing, why is it poisonous? Again, Harmacist. And let's not forget that you take 1 atom out of say H2O, and now it becomes significantly less healthy.
Yeah, O2 is concentrated oxygen will give you oxygen poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, imagine that, poisoning. So, just so you know, people, remember, everything in large enough quantities can be a poison, and some poisons in small enough quantities or interacting in certain ways can be healing.
Mm-hmm.
Enough water will kill you, even if you're drinking it.
Yeah, there's the whole story about that woman who tried to drink a gallon of water for a contest, and the gears were reversed before she could finish.
Yep. Also, just drinking a lot of water all the time will flush out necessary electrolytes and vitamins. You'll give yourself things like anemia and malnutrition.
Now, I have to correct myself. It wasn't a gallon of water; it was a gallon of milk.
Yeah, but I drink a gallon of milk in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. But I'm also, not human, so.
Yeah.
But with that, we get to page 2 with the Enlightenment, which is also called Corpse Garden. Spend 1 Thunderbolt at any point during your rift to raise a size 1 Corpse Garden adjacent to you. The Corpse Garden is an allied horde. You may spend 1 beat to increase the Corpse Garden size by 1, but you cannot raise your Corpse Garden size higher than your rank plus 1. That is the wrong use of the word raise. I mean, hell, I don't even think that's technically a spelling of the word raise.
That's a typo.
That's a typo where they put a Z instead of the S. Oh, no, okay. See, there is a spelling of raise there that we could do by removing the I as well, but that means to cut everything down. Mm-hmm. And as for the stats of that Corpse Garden Horde, it starts at size 1 with a speed 4, a jump 1, and evade 2. Its inflict violence is called Grasping Dead, and it costs 1 beat. It targets all enemies in burst 1. It is an area attack that does d4 damage plus 3 plus your legend versus resilience, excuse me. And the effect, there's an additional effect that the Corpse Garden inflicts a slowed. We also have their liberation, the Flower Forest. Level 1 is the Heavenly Sampaga. You touch the ground and it becomes drenched in the spirit of the dead. Costs 1 beat, targets a tile within burst 8 of you. The effect, summon a burst 2 Sampaga field in the target tile, which lasts until the end of violence. The Sampaga field. When an enemy starts their rift within a Sampaga field, they suffer Spirit True damage. Additionally, they are vulnerable to all attacks. This is starting to sound like some of the broken abilities over in Veil of the Void. Level 2 is Grand Corpse. You become inert, a living bloom, as the ghosts of the vengeful rise above the earth in reckoning. 1 beat, target is 1 tile in burst 5. The effect is summon a giant size 2 Salingogon brute corpse in the tile. It is indestructible. Before an enemy makes an attack, it moves 1 tile towards the enemy and then deals 2d12 damage to all enemies in burst 1 of it. So a size 2 giant thing that just hits everything in a circle around it all the time. Got it. And level 3 is called Flower Forest. Your heart is rent. Sampaguitas blossom from your fingers, from your brow. Sampaguitas. It's 1 beat, the target is self. Effect, the target becomes a flower. You cannot move nor be forcibly moved, but choose up to 6 different tiles in the battlefield. Burst 1 Grave Blossom field blossom from within them. Or burst 1 Grave Blossom fields blossom from them, which last until the end of violence. Grave Blossom field effects. Allies that start their riff in the Grave Blossom fields heal 1/4 of their max posture, while enemies that start their riff in the fields lose 1/4 of their max posture. You can additionally target any fighter that are within your fields. Okay. Kind of busted, but okay. Mm-hmm. Leaves you the signature techniques, Monk.
Yep. So first we have the Sampaga Flower Garden. With the hand sign and a releasing of an orchid, you summon a flower bed of corpses and jasmines. It's 1 beat, attack with the field and poison attributes. Targets all enemies in range 2 to 4, burst 1. Area attack D4 plus spirit versus resilience. It says then put down the flower field on the burst until the end of your next riff. I feel like that could have been worded a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Flower field. All enemies in the flower field are vulnerable to all attacks. Any enemy that starts their riff in the flower field is poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting when we get to violence so we can explore how damaging poison can be.
Yeah.
Next we have Tanik ni Dewakosa. You whisper sacred words and then fling out a sacred death thorn. This one beats, it's an attack with the cold attribute. Targets one enemy in range 2 to 6. It is a ranged attack that deals d6 plus spirit versus resilience. Its effect is inflict bleeding on the target and then mark them indefinitely. While marked, they cannot heal or be healed.
You know, I have to wonder at this point. We've seen both indefinitely and until the end of violence. Does indefinitely continue outside of violence? Like if they flee and run away?
I would probably rule that the mark stays there until they die.
That would be. I mean, that's how it works to me too. Yeah.
So then we have the second half of them. I'll give that over to you.
No, the way we've been doing it is.
All right. Right.
Everybody gets whoever gets the signature gets all 4.
Yep. So next we have Dragon Bramble Summoning. With an incantation and a sprinkling of flower oil, you summon brambles that resemble Naga from the ground. It's 1 beat. It's a field attribute. Targets ranged 1 to 5, path 5. Put down a dragon bramble field in the target area until the end of your next riff.
There's that path instead of line. I really want to know the difference between the two.
I have a feeling the difference is line is a straight line, path is a number of interconnecting squares.
Or hexes.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wonder if this game's hex-based.
Well, they've referred to it as tiles, so I don't think it would take much work to convert it to hexes. Then Dragon Bramble Field. This is dangerous terrain for all enemies. Any enemy that enters the field suffers your d6 damage and becomes poisoned. For 1 beat, you can teleport to any adjacent tile of the Dragon Bramble Field. Spend 1 beat to maintain the Dragon Bramble Field until the end of your next riff. Before you ask,
Monk?
the teleportation thing, this is not Cold Steel.
No, but it is a sustained effect, repeat effect.
Yes, it is.
I feel like I'm playing Emberwind now.
Then we have, at the 4th technique, Guma Mela Corpse Flame. With a silent whisper, you summon a field of reaping hibiscuses.
Hibiscuses are beautiful flowers.
I'm trying to envision what reaping hibiscuses would entail.
I can envision it.
So that's 1 beat. It's an attack with the fire and field attribute. Targets all enemies in range 2 to 5, burst 1. It's an area attack that deals d6 plus spirit versus resilience. Put down a corpse flame field on the burst until the end of your next riff. And corpse flame field. This is considered fire terrain for any enemies. All enemies that start their turn within this field are set aflame, and they are vulnerable to all attacks. Spend 1 beat to maintain the corpse flower field until the end of your next riff. So
this makes the flower bouillon a zoner. They zone control.
Yep, and remember, because of the way the discipline philosophy works, all those fields are one size.
First
bigger.
one bigger. Yep. That's an interesting one. But with that, we move on to another interesting looking one, at the very least. One that why do I have a feeling they tank the floor monk? Their name is Heaven Spear. I wonder if they attack Heaven's Word.
I can I can hear spoilers sneezing.
That's a very cute sneeze to imagine, so thank you, Milk. I've heard her sneeze.
Oh.
But the Heaven Spear has various titles: Renders of Heaven, Denouncers of Kings, Cloud Surfers, Ever Alight Javelins, Attainment of Minor Enlightenment. They are a style of raider, and their complexity is easy. This is the last time we saw easy was with the first set of disciplines, Monk, with the Rajanate.
Mm-hmm.
Their discipline attributes are a posture of 20, a speed of 4, a jump of 5, and a evade of 2. They have a bonus of +1 ferocity, +1 resilience. Their weapons are Sibat, Banka, Tridents, Barbed Spears, Kalises, Gnomes, Long Knives, Lances, Pinamaskan, Halberds, Glaives, spelled incorrectly, there's an I in Glaives, and Sadok. Their armors are breastplates, sarongs, pants, slippers, bracers, and head wraps. Their discipline philosophy is called Unbound. When you rush, having moved through a number of tiles equal to your full unmodified speed without slowed or hastened, without moving through a tile more than once, gain a Thunderbolt afterwards. So basically when you rush forward without going backward.
Mm-hmm.
When you are juggled, gain a Thunderbolt and then replace juggled with Unbound instead afterwards. Unbound, you're considered floating and all your melee attacks gain merit. When you make a melee attack, you can consume Unbound beforehand to... It's jump, Monk. It's just fucking jump! You can consume Unbound beforehand to slam down and deal plus D12 damage to the target of the melee attack. It is just jump! And the things that you can spend Thunderbolts on. Unlashing from the Earth's sins. You can spend a Thunderbolt after you move to become Unbound. Oh, I see the gameplay loop already, Monk. Rush, get a Thunderbolt, spend the Thunderbolt for Unbound because you moved, and then kill things. Sky Dancer. At the start of your riff, you may spend a Thunderbolt to fly 2. And then Unbridled Alacrity. When you suffered slowed, you can spend a Thunderbolt to turn it into hastened instead. Oh, you thought you did something. No, you didn't. What? Why aren't you slower? You're faster. Yes, and now you'll die. Their inflict violences are called Skewer Heaven's Wheel. First one is called Extreme Speed. You blur forward and strike multiple times in the span of a second. It's one beat and it's an attack with the lightning mantra. Target is one adjacent enemy. Melee attack of 2d4 plus ferocity versus parry. You have Thundering Spear. You twirl your weapon and then lash out, thunder sending them flying. It's one beat and it's an attack with the wind mantra. Target is one enemy in range 1 to 2. Melee attack of d8 plus ferocity versus parry. The effect, throw the target 2 tiles, and then you may fly 2 towards them. So you can throw them, which probably leaves them prone at the end. We still haven't figured that out because we haven't gone to the Violence chapter, but we'll find out. And then you can fly towards them if you'd like to. You could also not fly towards them. You could just throw them and leave them, say, in your flower bullions zone. Or around a bunch of your friends who are... You know, for example, headhunters or anything like that. Prone enemies probably die real good. Mm-hmm. And then Pole Vault. You leap and then maneuver another warrior with superior skill. It costs 1 beat. The target is 1 fighter within burst 3. You swap places, both flying. If the target is not willing, the target is pulled into your tile. So you can use it to swap with allies or with enemies. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, and next we have the Enlightenment, Heaven Render. Gain +2 to your jump. Meaning when you have Enlightenment, you'd have a jump of 7.
Yep.
Once per violence, at the start of any riff, you may rush for free.
Oh, hey! There's the gameplay loop I was talking about again.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you.
Then we have its liberation, Swarga Transcension.
Which is spelled incorrectly. Also, transcension isn't a word.
So level 1 is Bulusak. Leap into the sky and then strike down like lightning. Bulusak means to dive down, pierce down. We're not exactly helping the Dragoon comparisons here.
Mm-hmm.
1 beat. It's an attack with the lightning mantra, as well as true and relentless.
Does that mean the target that the damage is true damage? We will have to find out when we get to the violence chapter.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Targets 1 fighter in burst 5. You fly to their tile, and then make the following attack when you're sharing tiles with the target. Melee attack 3d10 plus ferocity. Push the target 1 tile and then land on the vacated tile. Let's see, then level 2, Lawu's Sun-Piercing Bulusak. Lawu, the sun-eating eagle, incants, impale the sun and make the sky bloody with rebellion. There is no God. In fact, there is no self. There is only thought. There is only me. It's 1 beat.
Descartes reincarnated in Southeast Asia.
Let's see, it's 1 beat. 1 beat. It's an attack with the lightning mantra, as well as true and relentless. Targets 1 fighter in burst 5. Fly to their tile, then make the following attack when you're sharing tiles with the target. Melee attack 5d10 plus ferocity, and gain +3 to your speed and jump until the end of violence. I really hope that doesn't stack.
That'd be fun.
And then level 3. Oh, that's going to be a tricky one.
I got it. Pangsang Sinu Kobang.
Alright, thank you. Bansang
You're
Sino Kubang. Bulusak. Universal Dive. The greater warrior, known only as Ganashakti, taught warriors to destroy all barriers before them. The greatest barrier is God. This 1 beat. It's an attack with the lightning, wind, true, and relentless mantras. Remove yourself from the battlefield until the start of your next riff. When you come back, you make the following attack. Target any fighter in the battlefield. 7d10 plus ferocity plus parry. Deal half the damage inflicted to the target to all enemies in the battlefield. Then return to the battlefield either adjacent to the target or on the tile you left.
That is fucking high jump!
Yep.
You remove yourself from the battlefield a turn and become untargetable, and then you come down and hurt everyone. What? Fucking Christ. With that, we get to the signature techniques. Sky Rave. Oh, now it's become Devil May Cry. You twirl your spear slowly, like a keening thundercloud, and then strike, like lightning, sending the target into the air. This is 1 beat, an attack with the wind mantra. It's a physical attack that is also a flurry attack. Target is 1 adjacent fighter. Melee attack of d8 plus ferocity versus parry. You inflict juggled, and you can also become juggled if you wish. Why wouldn't I, Monk? Because that allows me to become unbound. And if I become unbound, I can then crash down on people and do an additional plus d12 damage. Why wouldn't I use this all the fucking time?
Oh, but
The flurry. The flurry is spend 1 beat to make the following melee attack against the same target. Plus or d12 plus ferocity versus parry, ignores combo breaker, inflicts wide open on the target, and they lose juggled. With your 2 beats, you can knock somebody into the air and go into the air after them, become unbound, and then with the melee attack of the flurry, come back down on top of them. Fun. Mm-hmm. Fun. Next we have Heavenly Spear. You throw your weapon with the speed of lightning, blitzing, summoning the greatness of strength of the sky gods. It's 1 beat, an attack with the wind mantra. It's a physical flurry as well. Target is one fighter in range 2 to 4. The ranged attack is D8 plus ferocity versus parry. The flurry is a teleport adjacent to the same target and then blow the target wide open. You were saying about it not being cold steel? With the last people?
Now we're at cold steel.
Basically. The third signature technique, Gokong Vaults to Heaven. You leap across the battlefield upon thundercloud and lightning. It is a break. The trigger is you are the target of a melee attack, and of course the target is self. And then before the attack, fly 3, and then your next attack gains lightning mantra. So, I'm gonna hit you. No, you're not. Fuck you. By the way, come after me. I dare you, bro. I bet you want to be hit by lightning, don't you? And then we have the final technique, Jamyun Kulisas Vajra. You twirl your weapon, charging it with fulminating lightning, and then strike with the resonance of thunder. It is one beat and a physical attack with the lightning mantra. Attacks one fighter in range 1 to 2 and just does 3d4 plus ferocity versus parry. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yep. So next we have the Mender. Excuse me. Healers of Sword, the Traveling Doctors, Masters of the Convalescent Art. Their style is medium, and their complexity is average. Their attributes are posture 22, speed of 3, jump of 2, evade of 2, and they gain +2 to resilience. Their weapons are jade beads, parasols, clothing, sashes, fans, hats, oils, and perfumes. Their armors are ritual vestments, healer tunics, cloaks, hoods, sashes, robes, and gowns. And there's also a note: fighting with the defense implement, parasols, shields, etc., is a relatively recent addition to the Mender martial art, inspired by breathing martial arts of Baiku.
Baiku.
Yeah, Baiku.
That's an I.
Mm-hmm. So the discipline philosophy is Folk Healer. When an ally becomes staggered or is damaged while staggered, gain a Thunderbolt afterward. All healing you do also heals your rank D6 once per riff.
It heals you your rank D6 once per riff.
Yep. So for the uses of Thunderbolts, we have Lunas. At any point during your riff, you may spend a Thunderbolt to heal an ally in burst 3 by your rank D6. Then we have Ligtas. When an ally in burst 3 is the target of an attack, you may spend a Thunderbolt beforehand to pull them 2 tiles. And finally, Banal. At the start of your riff, you may spend a Thunderbolt to deal D8 damage to all enemies in burst 1 of you, and then push them 1 die.
1 tile.
Yeah, 1 tile.
Why did you say 1 die?
I have no idea.
Monk, it's just White Mage from 14 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You have Cure, you have the Rescue Pull, and you have the Push. Which are all things they get.
Yep. So, then we have their Inflict Tolerance.
Violence.
Yeah, I don't know why I said tolerance there. This font is kind of weird.
The Inflict Violence is smoke wafting from bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case you were having trouble reading it.
Yeah. So, the violence, the first one we have is Barrier. You fling out a parasol, a shield, or any other defensive implement. It's 1 beat, targets 1 unoccupied die in burst 2. Put down a barrier size
tile.
Yeah, tile. Put down a barrier size 1 object on the target tile. All allies adjacent to the barrier are guarded. You may only have 1 barrier on the battlefield at a time. Then Healing Palm. You inhale, strike, then exhale uttering healing ululations. Targets one enemy in range 1 to 3. It's a ranged attack that deals D6 plus Spirit versus Resolve. Resilience. And one ally in burst 3 of you may heal D10.
Nice.
Then we have Agas Mentala. You utter the name of the blue god who heals even violence. It's 1 beat, targets one enemy in range 2 to 4. The target suffers -2 to their defenses until the end of their next rift. And the next ally to heal damage on the target deals D8.
Heal damage to the target heals D8.
Mm-hmm.
You switched them there.
Yep, my bad.
Having some trouble today, Monk. Little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah. So the enlightenment is called Reflexive Elixir. The first time you or an ally in the battlefield falls to staggered, and remember everybody, staggered is when you reach half your posture in damage, they heal 1/4 of their posture immediately. Then we have the Liberation, which is Diwanung Ginhawa, or Spirit of Relief. Level 1 is Pina Kalunas. Uttering incantations, you bleed yourself and then pray to the ancestors. It's 1 beat, targets one ally in the battlefield, and the target heals all damage and gains regenerating. Full heal plus regen? Okay. White mage gonna white mage.
Mm-hmm.
Level 2 is Pang Maramihung Pina Kalunas. Lunas is the panacea, made up of 20 different herb leaves, 15 animal blood parts, 13 moth, butterfly, and dragonfly wings, and 8 different healing waters from 8 different springs, placed within a clay jarlet engraved with the name of the healing Diwata that helped the mender that brewed this Lunas. It's 1 beat, targets all allies in the battlefield. Target heals all of their damage and gains regenerating. Okay, full heal all combined with regen. Oh. Man. And finally, level 3, Lunas Pang Panginun. When we die, the immortal travels to our chosen afterlife and can be called upon as ancestors. Sri Dewa Saripada Agas. So, Sri Dewa Saripada Agas teaches that most ailments happen due to destruction and imbalances within the soul caused by an element. Most ailments begin spiritual, and only those powerful boil over into the physical, affecting us physically. The most grievous of ailments, such as cutting and slashes and crushing blows, for example, is a perfect example of the element of space, separating or pushing together the vigor. Thus, menders are taught to heal the soul first, so that the physical may heal properly afterwards. 1 beat, target all allies... What? All allies that have been killed and removed from the battlefield. Effect, targets are put back on the battlefield, revived, and healed of all damage. After this, add plus X GABA to the pool, with X being the number of allies revived. So your cost is not just the Thunderbolts you spend for the Liberation, but also that GABA.
Mm-hmm. See, then we get to the signature techniques. First with Healing Gourd. You bring out a gourd of refreshing healing spring water infused with pea flower?
Pea flower.
Yeah, pea flower and jasmine. I've had jasmine tea before, it's nice. It's 1 beat, it is a flurry. Target self or one ally within range 1 to 3. The target heals D6 plus spirit. And since it's flurry, you can spend another beat to heal the same amount to all allies in burst 1 of the target. Then we have Cleansing Flame Prayer. You crush barrier herbs and Lawan flower petals together. Utter a mentala and then light it aflame. It's 1 beat. It's an attack with the fire mantra. Targets all enemies in blast 3. It's an area attack dealing D4 plus spirit versus resilience. And cleanse any number of afflictions on the target, dealing D4 per affliction cleanse. Each ally in the blast may cleanse 1 affliction.
Oh, so they eat status effects to do direct damage. We've seen that from a couple of other disciplines as we've gone through.
Mm-hmm. And we've also seen it in our white mage.
Yeah.
So, the third technique is Rumsua Palm. You utter mantras and imbue your palm with the power of your soul, and then strike with an open meridian. See, it's 1 beat, it's an attack with the soul mantra. Target 1 adjacent enemy. It's a melee attack that deals D12 plus spirit versus resilience. And push the target's soul out of their body up to 4 tiles. Anything that happens to the target's soul is considered as happening to the original owner of the soul. They can only suffer effects from attacks and techniques once. An area attack cannot affect them twice. The soul and the target both suffer plus 2d6 damage from all attacks while they are separated. The owner must move through their soul's tile to stop this effect. And then finally we have
the soul can't move. Push the soul out. Have some of your friends in the party who can do a lot of movement. Move the target about by hurting it, which hurts the soul. And then you keep just pelting the soul from a distance. Things die real fast that way.
Mm-hmm. So next we have Remedy. You give an ally a cleansing concoction, burning bright teal with flakes of gold, blessed cinnamon, pink herbs, and cloud forest jade vine seeds. It's 1 beat. It's an attack with the soul mantra. Targets you or 1 ally in burst 4. And effect is give the target D12 plus your resolve, block, and they
Resilience.
Resilience. Block, and they cleanse any number of afflictions. I don't know, is the Balyan or the Mender the harm assist here?
Definitely the Balyan.
In that case, I'd say, if we're going to be invoking Veil of the Void earlier, I'd say the Mender is akin to the combat medic.
The kit of the Mender here is very, 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 very geared to straight up healing. Most of their damage effects are very small, and they have very few of them. So, I don't know. But with that, we get to the Star Shooter. And Waka, what are you doing here? Actually, it kind of makes sense Waka is here, after all. Masters of the art of sending meteors, perfection of improvisation, those that perfect play through violence. Kind of sounds like Waka. Style is sharpshooter, complexity is complex. Their discipline attributes are posture of 18, a speed of 4, a jump of 3, and a evade of 2. They get a bonus of +1 ferocity and +1 parry. Pardon me, carbonation. Their weapons are balls, stones, motes of dust, embers, kicks, knees, elbows, forehead. So, not only do they kill you by playing rugby, they also kill you by playing, that's just Muay Thai. Knees, kicks, elbows, foreheads. Like, there are punches in Muay Thai, yes, but most of the stuff you see in Muay Thai is close enough that it's all elbows and knees. Their armors are silk jackets, silk vests, feet wraps, hand wraps, and head wraps. Yep, that really is just Waka.
Oh, yes.
Their discipline philosophy is astral volley. When your Sipa ball collides, gain a thunderbolt afterwards. You start violence with a Sipa ball. It is a size 1/2 object that is indestructible, adjacent to you. Put it down as a D12 die that starts at 1. This rises by 1 for every instance of forced movement upon the Sipa ball. When the Sipa ball collides, you may deal D12 plus Sipa ball die number plus legend true damage to the one it collides with. If the D20 roll is higher than the current number on the Sipa ball, it stays the same number. If lower, then the Sipa ball die falls to 1. When you shove, you can push up to 3 tiles instead of just 1. If you push your SEPA ball, you may move 2 tiles towards the SEPA ball's final location. Well, we see the gameplay loop literally in that entire description. Push your ball around the battlefield till it's a high number and then throw it at somebody. Mm-hmm. You're going to get lots of thunderbolts by throwing it at people. Now, the things you can do with the thunderbolts, it only has 2 here. It has score, which at the start of a fighter's riff, if they're within burst 3 of you, you may spend a thunderbolt to immediately deal D8 damage to them, once per riff. What? Okay. Then we have catch. When you move or are moved, you may spend a thunderbolt afterward to fly 3 toward your SEPA ball. So if you're forcibly moved away from your SEPA ball, you can spend a thunderbolt to get right back to it. Then we have the inflict violence of bouncing lightning. Sidereal gun kick. Kick up anything and turn it into a violent piece, then kick it with the force of a gunshot. 1 beat attack physical. Target is 1 enemy within range 2 to 5. Does D6 plus ferocity versus parry. Then we have Sipa Palakul. Leap up, then flip down in an axe kick. The greatest attack. I like that. 1 beat it's a physical attack, and it hits all enemies in a line 4. It's an area attack that does D6 plus ferocity versus parry. If the SEPA ball is adjacent to you, you may forcibly move the SEPA ball to any tile adjacent to the last tile of the line. If it doesn't fall into one until after you put the SEPA ball in its, or it doesn't fall into one until after you put the SEPA ball in its final location. Okay. And we have Astral Drive. Drive forward is all the description says. 1 beat. Effect. If your SEPA ball is adjacent to you, you may take the SEPA ball, move your speed tumbling, and then place the SEPA ball adjacent to you. This is forced movement against your SEPA ball. Your next ranged attack gains merit. Nice.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the Enlightenment. Patu receives the sun. You gain +1 to your speed. Any ally can now target you with a ranged attack to make you the origin point. Any ranged attack that is launched from you in this way deals plus D4 damage. You can only do this once per riff.
Huh.
That'd be really good to pair off with somebody who's doing a sniping build.
Remember the I forget which class it was or which discipline it was, but the one that its liberation was eventually a you wanted to bounce your laser around through all of the little areas you set up in order to make a very big laser.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine also pointing it at this guy.
So
I'm going to reflect the laser off all these things and then throw it at you, friend. Okay, I'll kick the laser at the enemy.
Yep. So then it's Liberation, Star of Morning. Lucifer, is that you? So level 1 is Perfect Bulalaka. Bulalaka is the Burning Bright Comet. It's 1 beat.
Char, is that you?
It's an attack with the Gleam mantra. Targets all enemies in Path 10. Deals 4d12 plus ferocity versus parry.
Okay.
So just winding up for a power kick or the knuckle puck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Level 2 is Fulminating Sulundagis. Sulundagis is the Sinuku name for the burning comet, known as Rat's Lamp.
Again, Char, is that you?
It's 1 target, attack with the Fire and Gleam mantras, targets 1 enemy on the battlefield, and deals 4d20 plus ferocity versus parry.
What? Okay.
And level 3 is Meteor Garden. This technique, taught only to those fully inducted into the arts of the Star Shooter, emulates the first Stipa game with the Comet God. In this alternate interpretation, Bulakau kills all of the 85 who saw the first game, and in the violence, the 85 become 85 sidereal mansions, burning in the sky and dictating destinies if we should seek them. To this day, the sidereal mansions play this violent star version of Bulalakau's game, and it is said that they were the owners who taught this violent version of the game to the first Star Shooters.
Ones. They were the ones, not the owners.
Yep. So, that it is one beat. You kick anything into the sky. The kicked thing scintillates in heaven and then turns into a meteor slowly falling into the battlefield, bursting through the clouds. It starts as a size 2 object. Every beginning of a resound, its size grows by 1. For 1 beat, you may teleport to the sky and then axe kick the meteor into the ground, dealing size D12 plus size true damage to every fighter on the battlefield that is not behind blocking terrain, the media that this centermost tile of the battlefield, the burst emanating from that.
So, you kick it into the sky, it becomes a size 2 object. At the beginning of a resound, which I assume is the round in this case. Mm-hmm. A riff is your term, the beats are your actions within it. I'm guessing a resound is when everybody has taken all of their riffs and it comes back to the top of the initiative order. Mm-hmm. We'll know more when we read violence, but that's how it kind of reads to me.
Yeah.
You can leave it up there for as long as you want. And then for 1 beat during your turn, you teleport to the sky and axe kick the meteor to the ground. And depending on what size it's gotten to at this point, it deals its size number in D12s plus the size number itself as true damage to every fighter in the battlefield that's not behind blocking terrain. Mm-hmm. So, tell your friends, get behind something. Next resound, I'm going to go kick it at the ground. And, well, shit goes hog wild. Mm-hmm. Again, Char, is that you? That sounds like a colony crash. But anyway, we get to the signature techniques. Naga Breaker Straight. You kick with the force to puncture the universe. 1 beat and attack with the Wind Mantra. Targets 1 fighter in range 3 to 6. A ranged attack that does D6 plus ferocity versus parry. The effect is throw the target up to 4 tiles. And I'm going to actually read the little lore thing here because it's funny. It's a sportscast announcement. He's done it! He has performed the perfect shooting star setup! Kabaka takes the setup and performs that immortal forbidden technique, the one to end it all! Naga Breaker Straight! Because that's absolutely what it's invoking.
Oh, yeah.
The next signature technique is Sidereal Setup Style. You whistle, calling out a killer move, and then you and your allies burst into a practiced maneuver. It costs 2 beats. The effect is, mark a target in burst 5, and all allies in burst 3 of you may move 1. All attacks against the marked target gain 2 merit. After the marked target suffers a number of attacks equal to the number of Kadunganon in the battlefield, remove the mark. Which means if not all your allies are attacking, the mark will remain until they're done attacking. Mm-hmm. Giant Scarring Boast. Or Giant Scaring? Yeah, Scaring Boast. Mm-hmm. I think it's Scaring. It's 1 word, yeah. Giant Scaring Boast. You shout so loud that it throws your opponents off. A classic tactic. This is 1 beat and attack that targets soul. The target is all fighters in blast 3. Area attack is D4 plus ferocity versus resilience. The effect is throw each target up to 3 tiles and then inflict wide open on the target. And then the final signature technique, which has another shoutcast that I'm going to read at the end. You raise your knees and ready to receive a strike. It is a break. With the trigger, an enemy makes a ranged attack against an ally. Before the attack, you break out into a run. Move speed plus 1 tiles, tumbling. If you move into the attack's line of effect, end adjacent to the enemy, or end adjacent to the ally, You can knock the attack away, canceling it completely. However, you suffer half the damage of the attack as true damage. The Great Ewas! Ewas has dodged Dima Kosog's Fireball Strike! His counter attack is set to finish the match! Rolling Thunder! There you go. See, I could be a sports announcer. It's not that hard.
This thing is basically turning the entire battlefield into one giant pinball.
It's Blitzball. It's just Blitzball. The character looks like fucking Waka. It is just Blitzball.
Mm-hmm. But the last discipline that we have is the Warsmith. Artisans of violence, architects of sorcerous wonders, blessed of the forge gods. Their style is witch, and their complexity is complex. And given the art, I can't help but wonder: is this the closest thing we have to a mech pilot? Probably not.
I imagine it's more like Giant Robo.
Or
piloted from the outside.
Or Tetsujin 28.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that.
Rather than being piloted inside, it's someone who commands it outside.
Mm-hmm. So, discipline attributes. Posture 18, speed is 4, jump is 1, evade is 1. Has a bonus of +1 to ferocity and resilience. Weapons are hammers, axes, pestles, anvils, tie-door rope, shields, blunt swords, maces, mallets, bludgeons, arquebuses, hand cannons, swivel guns, and cannons. Armors are cuirasses, sabatons, longcoats, steel shin guards, breastplates, steel gauntlets, iron helmets, armored tampi, great skirts, ruddy forge fire burnt cloaks. The discipline philosophy: mystic prasad fabrication.
Yeah.
Right. Whenever you gain, hang on, let me. That's good tea. Whenever you gain materiel, gain a thunderbolt. At the start of every resound, put down 3 materiel on the battlefield that are at least 3+ tiles away from you. Whenever a fighter goes through a materiel square, they pick up the materiel. Attacking an enemy that is holding materiel lets you take 1 materiel from them. Any adjacent ally can give you any materiel they have as well for free. And the 3 uses are creation. At any point during your riff, you can spend a thunderbolt to raise a tile in burst 3 of you, +1 elevation. Preservation. You start the enemy's riff at the start of an enemy's riff that has 1 of your materiel. You may spend a thunderbolt to pull them up to 3 tiles and daze on them. And annihilation. At any point during your riff, you can spend a thunderbolt to turn any tile in burst 3 of you into difficult terrain, dangerous terrain, or height 6 blocking terrain.
Oh hey, pair up the Warsmith with the Starshooter. Have them use annihilation to make your friends safe during the level 3 liberation.
Mm-hmm. Their inflict violence is the blood-soaked hammer of Hari. The first option is Balabhadra's Eye. Shoot out with a gun that sears burning light, smokeless flame.
Burning bright,
smokeless flame. It's a laser.
A laser!
It's 1 beat. It's an attack that has the fire mantra. Targets 1 fighter in range 2 to 4. It's a ranged attack that deals D6 plus ferocity versus resilience, and inflict debilitated on the target. Next we have Subhadra's Gada. Strike with a mace of beating Jade. It's 1 beat. It's a physical attack. Targets 1 adjacent fighter. Deals D8 plus ferocity versus resilience. If the target has materiel, take all that materiel. If they have none, inflict dazed. And then Daiganatha's Trident. Pierce through with a Trident of Gleaming Annihilation. It's 1 beat. It's an attack with Gleam. Targets all enemies in line 3. Area attack that does D4 plus ferocity versus resilience. All tiles in the line become difficult terrain. If they're already difficult terrain, it becomes dangerous terrain instead, and all enemies on these tiles are pushed 1 tile away from the terrain.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Then we get to the Enlightenment. Wield the Hammer. When you start violence, choose a part of the god body you have equipped. I'm guessing that's the robot. You can spend a Thunderbolt during your rift to change the god body you have equipped. There's Sheath of Gatotkacha. When an effect you perform forces a target to collide, the target suffers plus D4 damage from the collision. So additional wallbang damage. Foot of Sagara Vivara. When you rush, you may fly 1 afterwards and then inflict wide open on all enemies adjacent to you after the flight. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then Crown of Kuan-Chin. When you suffer damage, inflict D6 of the damage back at the attacker afterwards and then set them aflame. There's a small sidebar about the god body whose name is Katawan Batara. The god body. God bodies are never mass-produced. Each one is the collective expression and effort of at least 50 goldsmiths, blacksmiths, and sorcerers. On top of that, there are at least 3 primary god body artists who specialize in the creation, design, and allow for the connection of various different parts of a god body together. The god body is the magnum opus of warsmiths. Warsmith training is usually done in conjunction with the formation of a personal god body. When they achieve master level, only then will they have the techniques required to finish the crafting of the ancient god body, which will become their holy implement against darkness and violence. But then we get to the liberation, Isatawan Batara. Level 1 is Putrastra. Putrastra. Purification weapon. That one's actually a little tricky. You summon a giant crossbow that fires pure annihilating essence. It's 1 beat and attack. A soul attack that has a fire mantra. Targets all enemies in line 10. It's an area attack of 3d12 plus ferocity versus parry, and the effect is all the tiles in the line become fire terrain. Level 2 is Wield the God Body's Mace. You summon a giant mace that is much larger than you, then slam it down to the ground, annihilating the earth. Costs 2 beats, targets all tiles in blast 3. The effect, throw all fighters in a blast up to 3 tiles away, then turn all the tiles in the blast into the chasm. I wonder if that's impassable terrain that you just fall down and die. Then, level 3, initiate Supreme Godfall. You submerge yourself into the blood of the battle and you are quenched. The battlefield becomes your anvil, your arms become your hammers, and the violence you bring will be the sword you forge! Costs 2 beats, targets 1 tile in burst 10. Okay. The effect. The Supreme God Body falls from heaven onto the target tile, dealing 5d12 damage to all enemies in burst 2 of the tile. The God Body is an inert piece of size 2, height 10 blocking terrain. When you're adjacent to it, you can pilot it for free. You move into the God Body's space and you occupy the same space. You get the following benefits. You are size 2. All your attacks can push up to 3. If they collide because of this push, inflict stunned. When an enemy in burst 2 moves, you may pull them 3 tiles afterwards. All enemies in burst 3 of you are vulnerable to all attacks. You have access to Putrastra as an inflict violence. Your level 1 liberation, which usually costs Thunderbolts, becomes an inflict violence. Monk.
What was that? You know that whole thing we said about this is probably gonna be more like Tetsujin 28? I take that back. This is a fucking mech pilot.
No, Monk. This is V from DMC 5. Because level 3 is you summoning Nightmare and getting on its back and then making it shoot lasers.
Mm-hmm.
It's DMC 5V. Anyway, the signature techniques are yours.
Yep. First one is Lawana builds palisades. You craft palisades with martial kata. It's 1 beat, targets 1 adjacent tile. Put down a height 5 wall on any side of the target tile. And alright, so we're getting a bit engineer in this.
Mm-hmm.
Second technique is Wiswarawong architecture. You craft something quickly, meditating upon the teachings of the blood-soaked hammer. It's 1 beat, targets 1 adjacent tile. Effect is put down an obstacle in an adjacent tile. The obstacle is height 2, blocking terrain. When it is collided against, it deals plus d4 damage against the collider. Then Flurry, spend another beat to push 3 and inflict dazed on all enemies adjacent to the obstacle after putting it down.
Forgot to put the flurry tag on it, but other than that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Then we have Kinara Edifice. Utter incantations, meditate upon the great architect god, and grow multiple hands to craft the statue of a Kinara. It's 1 beat. Target 2 different tiles and burst 3. And put up a 2 dancing Kinara statues in 2 different tiles and burst 3.
I'm guessing that's a typo and says to put up 2.
Yeah. Then Kinara statue. Whenever a fighter moves into the Kinara's tile, immediately teleport to any tile adjacent to the other Kinara, as dictated by you, though you must choose unoccupied tiles first before forcing a collision.
I have a statue here, and I have a statue there. And all my friends are around the statue there, and you came into range of the statue here. So go over there.
It's engineer building a teleporter.
It's not just a teleporter, Monk. This is a way to fuck with the enemy.
Thinking with portals?
Yeah.
Let's see. And the 4th technique is Bato Luntiang Naga. You utter the incantations and pray for a moment. Then perform a striking Anyo. Every strike creates a scale and part of a Jade Naga statue. It's 1 beat. It's a physical attack. Targets 1 adjacent fighter. Deals D8 plus ferocity versus resilience. And a Jade Naga construction wraps around the target, inflicting constricted on the target. Versus constricted, you cannot move voluntarily or be moved forcibly. You can only draw line of sight to adjacent tiles. The next attack against you gains plus 3 merit. Cleanse this after suffering an attack. While you're constricted, you're considered height 3 blocking terrain.
Do this, then have the Star Shooter do his ultimate while everybody's hiding behind this.
Mm-hmm.
The person inside that thing is going to take a lot of damage.
Yep. And with that pretty much settles all of the disciplines within Gubat-Banwa.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say this is the hard part that would end up happening for us if I was to run this is having people pick one discipline because all of them are interesting in some form or another.
Yeah.
All of them are interesting, all of them are viable, none of them is a one-trick pony, and none of them is stepping on the toes of everyone else while claiming that there's nothing wrong with that out of some argument of balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly those of you listening, you know exactly who you are and you've known at least one person who is just like that, who claims that their build is not that OP when they're casting spells that just nuke the battlefield in a few rounds. And saying that is perfectly balanced because they can only do that once per rest. But obviously there's some that we enjoyed more than others. There's some that are very much wearing their inspirations on their sleeve, or at the very least, the inspirations that we draw from it. It is always possible that some of the things we think are inspirations are coincidental. That's happened before in interviews and the like. So I'm
going to say that some of the disciplines are straight up influenced from things like Devil May Cry. We saw Virgil. We fucking saw Virgil, Monk.
Yes. However, I have to word it like that as a means of covering my ass.
I'm going to word it differently. I don't care if it wasn't a conscious decision. It's very clear that your subconscious was like, ooh, I should put this cool thing I played recently in my game.
Mm-hmm. The other and as I mentioned already, it is very clear that this is channeling a lot of the DNA of the edition we're supposed to hate, but we don't because they couldn't keep up on the payments.
No.
The only thing, though, I'm kind of iffy about putting disciplines, anting, and NPC material in its own segment so far into the back in Compendium. I think Lancer did something similar. I'd have to dig up my copy of Lancer again, but I'm not a fan of that. I feel like these disciplines should have been in a dedicated character creation chapter. Like it really should have come right after progression in the Kanduganon chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as things like Anting, would I put Anting in, which we'll get to later in that same chapter? Probably. As far as the whole non-player characters, which is also in it, I think that would be better served being put in running the game, which is a later chapter. That's my take. The issue that I have is just placement of material. It's a flow kind of thing.
Yeah. Having to hop around like this is a little disorienting. We can do it because we've been doing shit like this for forever. We'd rather not. We'd rather there be a better flow to it. But
and there's I know that we have different character aspects in their own chapters, but those chapters are directly after character creation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've been able to sidestep that issue. And in all fairness, I think the reason why I bring this kind of thing up is, while it might be easy to point at the bookmarks if you're playing this through the PDF version using a VTT and whatnot, what if you're doing physical at a physical table? You're not gonna. It's highly unusual for everybody to have laptops. I had considered at one point buying a bunch of netbooks and having everybody use those, but I never did because of the logistical problems.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I know some might say, well, you shouldn't be using a laptop anyways. You should be using a physical book if you're at a physical table. I do not subscribe to this notion of how you're supposed to do things. As I said elsewhere, I don't care how you get to the dance so long as you're at the dance. But I think the other thing is is the fact that the progression with each of the disciplines we've seen, um, there's enough to get the hint even with the degrees of legend that are present.
Mm.
In fact, in fact, especially since this is a good chunk of it you're already going to have, like say inflict violence. And of course you're going to be getting ontings as you increase in legend.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something we'll get into in a few weeks.
Yeah.
The because there is the signature technique, and keep in mind, you've got 12 levels of legend, and you could possibly gain signature techniques from other disciplines if you can feasibly learn it. Which means multi-classing is not that difficult. The and the, as far and let me double check something when it comes to disciplines. Because what and the philosophy you also end up getting right out of the gate.
Mm.
And as far
you get the inflict violences and the philosophy first.
Yes.
And then you get the first signature technique pretty soon after that, if I remember correctly.
Signature techniques you gain by increasing your legend. That's one of the handful of options you can take.
Yeah, but I'm saying you get the first one. You get the option for the first one fairly close.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And as far as liberation, I believe that would be that's something that you get. That is basically a dedication bonus. And even with that, you have to.
Was that Legend 3, 5, and 7?
Let me check the progression. Let's what it said when it came to disciplines is the controlling aspect is the fact that higher level liberations cost more thunderbolts, which means once you've gained all the if you spend all of your first few levels of legend on signature techniques, you would technically gain liberation and gain all 3 liberation techniques, but the level 3 ones are going to require more thunderbolts than you can carry. Level 1 Thunderbolt, level 1 costs 5 Thunderbolts, level 2 costs 7, level 3 costs 9. But that and because of the way that you get Thunderbolts and the like, that means that the in some cases you have to really dedicate a heavy amount of it, because the liberations are essentially your supers. Uh, um, the and it is going to require you to generate lots of Thunderbolts in order to even do it. So, in that way, the loop is that liberations are your ultimate reward for mastering the kit of your discipline. This also does mean that if somebody wanted to try and multi-class, well, first off, the multi-classing is going to be limited to signature techniques. But also, you can only equip one liberation at a time.
Yeah.
And once you use that liberation, you can't use it again until downtime. So in that regard, I guess you could say liberations are your limit breaks.
I mean, they basically take your kit to 11.
Yeah.
Whatever your kit may be, so...
Although limit breaks in more in the way we've done it than in the more traditional approach to limit breaks.
Yep. I mean, in some cases they are just giant hits.
Mm-hmm. But with that said, I really do enjoy the setup we've got here. Again, I think the reason I had to do that kind of cross checking is the fact that disciplines are near the halfway point of the book.
Yeah.
I really feel they should have been earlier in the book as far as placement.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to those sort of when I think of a compendium section, I'm thinking of something like an appendix. You know, the place where you'd put like all the treasure, all the stat blocks for NPCs, that kind of thing.
I could see why you'd think that way.
Yeah, but I realize that is a bit nitpicky, and once somebody has enough experience, it's not going to be as much of a problem. But it is something worth noting.
Yeah.
But overall, I do feel bad for anybody who has WotC brain rot and jumps into this and tries to do something.
Lost. Yeah,
tries to do something like what they already know and realize that's not how things are gonna work here. There isn't an equivalent to the standard fighter, because everybody's a fighter.
Yep. Everybody's there to inflict violence.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, shape, or form.
Everybody's there to inflict violence and revel in the glory of combat.
Yep.
But the other thing to note is I'm glad that and this is something we discovered earlier. When it comes to Thunderbolts, they are your extra effort, but playing the hoarding game with them is not advisable.
Not unless you're going for a liberation. Because you kind of have to with that.
And even then, if you're using your kit properly, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to generate Thunderbolts.
Yeah. I'm just saying that if you're building up for your level 3, you kind of have to hoard for a little while.
Mm-hmm. yeah, it's just not as much of a problem as it could be. But I'd say I'd say there's plenty of crazy to work with. Um,
Yeah.
and with that in mind, I believe the next time we are here for the Valley, we will be tackling violence. So next
Yes.
week we're finally getting into the 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 glory of combat.
We're finally punching you all in the face.
Mm-hmm. And with that said, we will be back here next week, but tune in tomorrow on Twitch because we will be doing our postmortem on Aboard the Magic Railroad.
Yep.
Normally when we've done these kind of postmortems, it's with the designers, but obviously that is not feasible in this instance. So it is just going to be a reflection of our time with the game and everything tied to it. And of course, I've already made the announcement, but next month we will be starting with um, Robotech, specifically the Strange Machine Games version, because as I've said before, I will not run anything Palladium ever again. And I could hear somebody going, "Don't you practice games not names within the temple?" Yes, I do. I have come across every game that Palladium has made in one form or another, and I'm not going back because there isn't a single one that that I haven't had problems with. Some of them more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Palladium Fantasy, I have problems with that. Ninjas and Super Spies, I have problems with that. Heroes Unlimited is probably the worst superhero game I have ever run. And even beyond that, all of them have the problem of Palladium's infamous editing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do my best to do the whole games not names thing, but eventually, but when somebody keeps making the same mistake over and over, I'm a little less inclined to give a benefit of the doubt. I remember when there was that Kickstarter for a reprint of TMNT and Other Strangeness. I ended up skipping that because, well, I've gone through that game in the past. I'm not doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that some stuff's cleaned up in it? Maybe, but it's still lipstick on a pig. Regardless of which lipstick you put on a pig, the problem is it's still a pig.
Yes.
And even Routes, who's the biggest I won't say apologist, but he certainly has played defense for the Palladium system, and he certainly enjoys his version of it running Chaos Earth. But even he's not going to defend the organization problems.
Yeah.
Mostly because Routes is not an idiot. But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come all the way to enjoy the madness that we do around here. And there will be plenty more of that, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody!